The Woo Woo Hour. Hello, welcome to the Woo Woo Hour again. We are back with videos focusing on questions and suggestions people had for me in the last few weeks on Instagram. This video is specifically about emotional support in gender care with herbal support. So we're going to be covering that in this short video, and then there's going to be hopefully a few videos following after this focused on some other herbal support for gender care. So we're just going to get started. So the first thing I want to mention is that for herbal support specific to gender care, there is still a lot that hasn't been focused on, and I feel like it's a little bit more of a new focus within Western herbalism, at least from what I know, and that there hasn't been a lot of emphasis put on it until probably like the last decade or so. So it's still a pretty new in the community, but luckily there's a lot of really great queer herbalists across the country that are putting more emphasis on it and working with more queer and transgender clients to figure out herbs that can really support them physically and emotionally through either their gender transitions or just feeling more affirmed in their gender identity. So just to say that there's not a lot necessarily of work that's been done specific to gender care. But I think that there's a lot being done now, and there's a lot more to be done, and there's a lot of herbalists who really understand the importance of the work and the need to support the queer community. And also just to say that what I'll be talking more about in some of the other videos is there's a lot of great herbs out there that have been known to support folks emotionally through specific times or transitions in their lives. And there's a lot of herbs that have been shown to really support specific body systems and have been used for a really long time for folks. And so there's a lot of herbs that we can rely on that are really applicable to gender care and kind of translate over into work that can be done for gender support as well. So just to name that first. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking specifically about herbs that can be helpful for emotional support in our gender identities and in gender care. It can be for folks that are transitioning and looking for some more emotional support while they might be experiencing gender dysphoria and just anxiety and just feeling overwhelmed overall. It can be for folks who are just hoping to gain some more just like support in who they are and who they know they are in their identities as a person. So there's different herbs that can be used for that. Overall, I want to say that different herbs might work for a different person. Obviously, each of our bodies are different, and so there's different herbs that might work for us. And I think that applies to like herbs that are more tending to, physical issues that we're having, but it also really definitely applies to more of the emotional and spiritual issues we're having. And I would definitely recommend, I'm going to name some herbs that are helpful here, but I would definitely recommend that you either work with an experienced herbalist or, consult other folks and find what herbs really work for you, because I can name a few things that actually don't really resonate with you entirely. And then also, like, the one thing I really want to name too is, like, while herbs are really great, it can provide so much medicine for us emotionally and spiritually. Sometimes it's really just more helpful to seek out like a therapist or mental health support in our communities, and having more of somebody who's really has that training to be helping you through these specific transitions and affirmations or identity. So definitely that's a big thing to name that could be helpful for you. But I really like the medicine and kind of magic that plants can provide during this too. So that's what I'm going to be sharing. So for emotional support, there's a few like different things that you can focus on. And as I mentioned, it is going to be different for each person. The main thing that I think that a lot of us experience um, that are queer or are experiencing transition in our gender expression, or yeah, are just living in this world, is a lot of us are experiencing a lot of anxiety. We're experiencing just feeling really overwhelmed in the world and feeling really overwhelmed with our gender expressions and having to show up in the world and maybe not feel accepted or validated in our identities. And it takes a big toll on our nervous systems, and that's something I really focus on a lot. I feel like in the herbal studies and work that I do, because I feel like our nervous systems are one system that's so heavily taxed by living in capitalism and living in the world that we do. Yeah, and so one of the main things that I want to talk about is herbs that support our nervous systems, and this can be something that's really helpful for all of us who've experienced trauma as well. And just giving us a little bit more of that nourishment and helping to repair our nervous system, and just reducing a little bit more of our anxiety and helping us to cope a little bit more with the daily stress that we might be experiencing. And so some of the herbs that I always suggest for this, I mean, oat straw is the one that I really, really like, and I know a few other queer herbalists who really recommend oat straw for just repairing your nervous system. For folks, during this time, I've heard a lot of queer herbalists referencing oat straw to be a supportive herb for when we are often going into that fight or flight mode and just feeling very hypervigilant. Oat straw is something that can be really helpful as a tea infusion, a tea or tincture, and can be really helpful if we take that regularly for an extended period of time. Can be really helpful in repairing that nervous system and helping us to feel a little bit more grounded, feeling a little bit more calm, and feeling like we can handle a little bit more on our plates and have maybe a few more spoons to give. So that's something that I find really helpful and is one of my favorite herbs, and it tastes really good. And just, yeah, it feels like a big warm hug. So I'd really recommend using oat straw, or milky oat tops as it's can also be called, which is a different part of the plant. And then some adaptogens, which some folks, if you're familiar with herbalism, might have heard about. There's ashwagandha and tulsi. And ashwagandha is something that works on your body's ability to cope with more stress and help you to not feel so overwhelmed when times of stress come around. And something that definitely, once again, works when you take it regularly for a few weeks, versus just it's not necessarily an herb that's going to make you immediately feel calm and collected. And some of the magic is that it can help you feel that way, but it definitely works a little bit more in an extended period of time. And then tulsi as well, it's also known as holy basil. It smells really amazing and feels really good when you drink it right away, and it's also something though that is good to use as a tea over a period of time. And then some other ones that are more like nervines and more work on helping us to feel a little bit more calm in that moment, but also are helping to support the nervous system. And ones that I've heard other queer herbalists mention is skullcap. That's really, really helpful, and blue vervain. And those help, can provide a little bit more of that immediate sense of calm and allowing us to kind of come back into our bodies again and focus on where we might be at, and allowing us to, know that we are who we are, we're validated in our identity, we're important and we matter. I feel like those can be helpful herbs for the in the moment feelings to an extent, and can be taken also regularly. So those are some things, I feel like the nervous system is just such a fundamental part of care, especially for trans folks and queer folks, because we just take so much on in our nervous systems, and so many of us have experienced a lot of trauma throughout our lives. And so that's the first thing I want to mention to folks that can help really anyone, queer and non-queer folks alike. So and I'm happy to, if you're I don't really know where to get these herbs, I don't know how to prepare them, that's something reach out to me, and I'm happy to talk to you a little bit more about that. It just takes a while to cover in one video, but I'm here for questions. And then what else I wanted to mention is, there's different flowers and plants that have already started to be identified as just really beneficial for support in our gender identities and validating us as queer and trans folks. And some flowers and plants can be used as like essences, so we get that feeling of the plant, and we get how the plant might resonate with us into like a potion or a tincture. And two products I really want to mention that are specific for trans folks and can apply to queer folks that just want support in their identity is the first one is by Dory Midnight, called Between the Worlds, which I actually have here. And this one is really nice and has some gem essences, herbs, and flower essences in it. And it's just really helpful for, well, what it says is for transcendence, transformation, self-determination, and gender magic. And this is really great and has some of the herbs that I would also recommend in it for supporting folks and just helping you to feel strong in who you are. And then the other one is by 69 Herbs, called See You Later Dysphoria, and also has a lot of similar gem essences, flower essences, herbs that are supportive for the same things and helping with people who are experiencing gender dysphoria. So those are, two products that I would really recommend that are by queer herbalists that both live on the East Coast, and you can check them out on their websites, and I can share their tags below if you want to look at them. And then, talking about like some of the things that I found that were common in their essences and things that I also have like resonated with my own experiences is like rainbow moonstone or moonstone at large, just like really helping us to like tap into that like moon energy and our like intuition and really understanding like who we are and like the root of ourselves and feeling connected to that like like the deep part of us that like really knows who we are and like knows the power that we hold. I think that's something that's really important. So if you have like moonstone and you want to like sit with it, if you want to make like a gem essence, that's something that's really great. An herb that was also in both of those products that I talked about is mugwort, which I'm not as familiar with in the emotional aspect of the herb and what it recommends or like supports, but that's something that's in both of those products. So that's something that you can look into as well that might be helpful. Some herbs that I really like for gender support, and some of them that are also in these products. One that I like really fall in love with every day is dandelion, especially like the flower itself, because dandelions are just like so resilient. They grow really everywhere. Like you see them in like the crevices of concrete. You see them in like fields just growing wild, and if so many people mistake them as weeds, but they're really like this beautiful, like offer this really beautiful magic to us, and just like really, like they know they're special. People don't have to, like people can call them weeds, but like they know they're special, and I feel like it's an herb that really represents a lot of marginalized folks, and so I really recommend like a dandelion flower essence. That can be really great. You can use like a dandelion tincture if you, as much as you want as well. Dandelion root is something that specifically helps like stagnation in the liver, so it offers a little bit of a different medicine, but that's something you can take too if you need kind of like both of those medicines for your body. And then goldenrod is another one I really like. Goldenrod has these like really beautiful kind of like yellow little flowers on the top, and it just like kind of like a rod, it just stands like straight up. And it's one flower or like one plant that I've just seen time and time again. Like, like the wind will try to knock it down. People will try to knock it down. All these forces will try to knock it down, and it just like stays standing up. And it's always the plant that I see like when winter is starting to hit, I'll like still see that same like stalk of the plant just like standing tall and like who it is. And I feel like it's a really helpful reminder just to like stay strong in who we are and our identities. And then some other plants to mention, like white oak is kind of, or like most oak trees, if you have like the bark essence, is something that I also feel like helps with that same energy to an extent because of just like how grounded and rooted these oak trees are. And just like paying some praise to like our ancestors and our guides who are supporting us in this journey and just helping us to stand strong and like reach for all of the possibilities that we can have in our lives. And then some other herbs I wanted to mention for folks who are leaning towards maybe more like masculine energy or like a femme energy. There's also herbs out there that carry a small amount of testosterone or estrogen and can help at least with like the emotional aspect of supporting us in these journeys as well. They're not necessarily like carrying enough of these hormones to like completely replace hormone replacement therapy if that's something that you're doing. But if you want just some of that, more of that like emotional support and that essence to carry with you, then these can be really helpful. For testosterone and for that masculine energy, pine pollen can be really helpful for folks. And that can, yeah, carries a little bit of testosterone. It can help you maybe feel a little bit more validated in that identity if you are somebody who is transitioning into a more masculine energy or just hoping to carry a little bit more of that with you, then that's something that's great. And then more on the like femme side, licorice and peony can carry. There's a lot of science behind it that I won't go super into depth on because it does get a little bit complicated, but there's something that can be a little bit more estrogenic and can help folks to connect a little bit more with like feminine energy or more of those hormonal changes. And so if that's something that feels helpful to you, then yeah, I can give you a little bit more information on that as well. And it can be something that's just like really supportive for you in that experience as well. But yeah, that's mostly what I have to offer for the moment. There's like so much more I could cover. But that's just like at least a little bit of information for folks who are looking for more of that herbal support for the emotional side of our gender care and gender transitioning. And then, you know, like I want to mention, like definitely like follow like mantras, write down mantras that you can like tell yourself every day to like validate your identity and who you are. Have a meditation practice, do journaling to affirm yourself, surround yourself in really good communities with good support. I mean, these are really great things too that you can do aside from just like this herbal support, or you can use in conjunction with it. That's like really helpful. And you can like sit with plants if you see them outside, help them to validate your energy or your identity and bring in that energy to you as well. There's lots of like great medicine that exists out there. And I hope that you can find some of it and explore it and feel really good in who you are, because it is valid and strong and powerful. So yeah, that's what I have. Thank you. Let me know if you have any questions and have a great day.